23. Afternoon, hope you can hear me all right. Go. Just wait a couple of minutes. Ah, 4 o'clock now. Okay, let's get started. Clearly got the S&P up at the moment. Very iffy at the moment. As I mentioned before, it's going to be a shorter Zoom trading room today because the American markets are closed and it's a bit of a damp squib on that aspect. So I don't expect much fireworks on the indices because of that being closed. We did have a trade out. It seemed to be hovering around the 4025, 4030 mark, the 4040 mark. Very, very quiet. So I expect as much of the same going through. I mentioned before, you might want to sort of give it a miss and have a look at it again tomorrow to join it if you want to sell it. But that might be an idea. But if you're in already, hold on. That's about the best I can say on that one. If anyone wants to look at an entry, maybe we could put the RR up if you do want that. Okay. Just check the economic calendar. I don't think there's anything else come through. Yeah, just the euro, not much happening on that. Okay, so it's fairly quiet. As you know, Thanksgiving Day is nothing on the American side, so it'll be quite quiet. High knowledge, guys. Okay, we had a couple out. Doesn't seem exactly flying at the moment. AUD CAD. AUD CAD. We're going down. Yeah, that's it's doing all right. Actually, broke below 9,000. Got to sell. They decided to pop its head up again, which is giving me a bit of worry. It's looking pretty good, and it's coming off, and suddenly poked his head up, a bit sideways, but it's a bit of a worry. GBCHF has been a hell of a thing. I thought it looked quite good at the time, but that's not seemed to be very good at all. Still, it's come off a little bit, as you can see on the 15-minute, but it's again sustained some pullback. Not quite sure it should be shooting up there because you can see it's a bit of almost a head and shoulders, really. I thought there might be a decent pullback on this one, but surprising anyway. It's trying to pull back a bit, so that comes right. AUD-CHF, that's also was a bit iffy today, to be honest. Yeah, still 10 pips in the negative. Not outrageous, but it needs to get going. So far it's holding, so what I can say on that little lot, keep the fingers crossed. And yeah, gold, we're looking for maybe a sell if you could break down a bit, but it didn't seem to be happening last I looked. No, it's not happening, it's just sideways, so forget about that. And the US dollar yen, that's just a trading room idea. It even came down here, came down here at one stage, got a bit worried at 138, seemed to bounce a little bit. I hope we can maintain some upward momentum, but it's all round been pretty quiet. It is. Okay, fair enough. But as I say, it's been very quiet whether you got out or not. Oh, okay. Must have been, I see some upside there. But anyway, we'll see what happens. But it has been pretty quiet. The only one to give us a bit of drip was actually one of the ones I thought was going to be quite good, that pound Swissy. And very disappointing. It's, what did we get in? It's quite a, where is it? Where was it? 71, it's 400 and something now, eh? GBP, CHF, yeah, it's about 40 odd pips against. But anyway, it's a bit better than it was half an hour or so ago. So maybe we can get a bit of a pullback. Keep your fingers crossed. Yeah, well, yeah. So I'd say markets are more like paint drying a bit at the moment. No surprise there. So at the moment, I have to say, I'm sorry to say they're not that pretty. But I think some guys might have taken the opposite view and they come out all right. I don't know. But still in them, it might come right. I remember the good old AUD JPY. I've done that a couple of times or so and always gave it a bit of a jip before it came right. So maybe we'll do the same here. Not much else I can add on that. Just keep the fingers crossed, as I say. DXY is going nowhere. It's threatened 106, started to climb above it and thought at last. Then it's back again pretty quiet. Bit sideways on the hourly, not much happening there. The yields come off quite a bit, down to 3.6, but it's still pretty high. It's still pretty high, but certainly lower than it was at a week or so ago, about 4%. But still, we'll see what happens there again. And the Dow looks pretty quiet, flat as I'm looking at the screen, flat. S&P's flat. I think you probably find the NASDAQ about the quietest you're going to see it in normal times. Pretty flat. So we'll have to see what happens there. It might get back up to 12,000, but I'm a feeling 12,000 might hold and it might pull back from there if it does get that far, but it's going to drift. Don't forget 439 is happening, so it's going to be a hell of a quiet. All the shares, don't forget, will be sitting. Nothing you can do. Sit in them until 4:30 tomorrow. That's all I can say on the share mark. So just to see. Okay. So bit of an iffy day, to be honest. Bit of an iffy day. Sorry to start off the trainer on that note, but on the better thing, at least we're still in. So hadn't it to stop anyway. So we're still in it and they might come right. Just keep the fingers crossed. If it makes you feel any better, I'm suffering with you if it doesn't go right, because I don't tell you to do something, I don't do it myself, sort of thing. Okay. Right. Gold we looked at, 52 break, not seeing it happening, but anything's happening, it's pretty sideways. Okay, so that's about the best I can come up with for the moment. Anything that's not open later on, anybody want to discuss anything on the share side? As in the position sizing, because again, it's coming right now. A lot of problems with people getting fractionals, thinking it's forex. Go on. Hello? Say again. Did somebody say something then? Okay. But that is by far the most difficult. No, I see what the most difficult of all. Is somebody speaking to me there or what? Hello? Okay. Yeah. Where we are. Most difficult thing in trading, really right now, is when to exit. Psychologically, we always want to get to peak. That's where we want to exit there. But that's virtually impossible. Might happen once in a lifetime. So that is the most difficult, is exiting. That's international absolute. But other than that, I quite agree. Especially if you've had a pretty good run and you're excited about it, and especially trying to earn a living out of it, that's your income. There's nothing more frustrating sitting and nothing's happening. Well, you're looking and looking and looking, trying to find a decent trade. A lady once said to me, because you can always tell a middle-aged man, he sits in the couch with a remote in his hand, going up and down the channels, trying to find something. Well, that's a bit like this, up and down the bloody channels here, trying to find something, and there's nothing to be found. And in the end, you find something because you almost force it. And normally that comes back and bites and irritates you. So, yeah, it can be incredibly exhilarating and sometimes can be a bit on the boring side. That's just one of those things. So, yeah. I don't subscribe to it. I think the benefit of subscribing, I'm guessing, is I think it's that expensive. I never bother. It's pretty cheap, a few dollars a month. Is it cuts the adverts. If you get irritated with the adverts, it might be worth subscribing. But to be honest, I never bothered. But yeah, it might be. I don't know what extra benefits you get that you haven't got for free if you can put up with the adverts. Simple as that. Like a lot of these things, subscribe to me to get rid of the adverts. Okay. Yeah, so that's about it. I subscribed to Business Day, it was quite good. But the only problem with Business Day is obviously it concentrates locally, and of course, local shares we don't have. But otherwise, it's I like MoneyWeb, I respect it. It's quality journalism. In fact, it's like probably voicing a bit of an opinion here. It's like 702, in my opinion, quite quality, especially listen to all the bloody gibberish you get on the international stuff. Yeah. I felt the stand's quite high, so I quite like those. But yeah, FXS is quite good. You might want to have a look at that. So I'll just send that, by the way, just make sure I've got it right. Just put it down for you. Yeah, just write it down there. Synaptic, go to your Play Store, get it there. FXS. There you are. It's not bad. Another one's not bad. It's Daily FX. Got it. All free. You might find it useful. It's another one. Have a look at. Okay, going back to shares. Yeah. So we've seen to solve that problem we're having for a week or so, where people are getting fractions on shares completely necessarily. Understand because he used to forex. Like I had one guy who said he couldn't trade forex. Why not? Because he's used to doing shares. And he's putting things like 20 and 50 and 100 in or whatever. And of course, you can't do that in forex. The difference in volumes is quite substantial. So does anybody, I'm not sure, about shares, because position sizing, because it's different. You can't use the calculator for that. It'll give you erroneous information. The calculator on your laptop is everything but the shares. So you do indices, everything, no problem. But shares, you need to have the Excel calculator, and you get it from the LMS and resource, I think. I think Sean was he often posted on there. I can maybe look at it to post if you like. So you can do that. Hang on. Where is it? I'll do it just now. You probably got it. Anyway, yeah. So don't forget, when you do shares, let's say it's Ford, and you got about a 50K account, you can buy at least 150. 150 volume. Yeah, that's about the right volume, depending where the stop loss is, because the contract for one. I hope everybody's got that and understands that. We don't want people going into a fraction of a share. It's all right if it goes against you, to be fair. If it goes with you, you'll be highly fed up when you made £5 profit if you're lucky, because you went into too small a position. Okay, I hope everyone's clear on that. You've all got the DXY, the economic, what should we call it, calendar, and the yields. I've mentioned that before. If you haven't, let me know and I'll copy and paste it for you. You've got to have those, important, because there's not much happening in the markets at the moment. I'm just going through this. If you have anything you want to put up, Mike, Mark, or whatever, just say so and I'll go immediately to that. This is a trading room, I know. Let's do it quiet at the moment. I hope you've all got your charts set up with the 200 and the 50. Very, very strongly suggest you have those two. Any other moving average, your choice, but the brown and the blue line, you got to have them. And don't forget to save the template. So if you do lose the chart, just right click and then bring it up again. Simple as that. I hope you all know about specifications. You want to know about Meta, your Facebook. You left click, right click, and then you left click on specifications, margin detail. See contract size 1. So it's 1 share. So anything like that you want to go over again, the position size, anything on the basics you're not sure of, closing something, part closing a position, don't have to close the entire amount, you can do that. Anything in that line you're not sure of, I'll just quickly go over it in the meantime, unless we can see a trade come up. Hope that sort of makes sense. You're unmuted, Mike. Do you want to say something there? Just saw you sort of clear your throat. Do you want to say something, Mike? I saw your name come up on the chat line, not chat line, on on the verbal. Any questions, anybody? Like Mark had one about the subscribing thing there. Anything like that on your mind? Might as well use this. It's going to be a short session. Use it, maybe pick up something you've forgotten about. Oh, a misclick. Okay. That misclick on the wrong position, hey? Okay. Right. Now, right. And people have different ones where they do their strategy on. On Forex, I suggest 4 or day. That's up to you. 4 is a guy who's actually a shorter term in the market. Fine, or a daily. I do everything on the day, that's it. Some guys do the daily and they use shares for a weekly. But if you're using tech shares, I think a daily is quite adequate, because especially when doing the JSE CFDs, a weekly sometimes better because they're a lot slower. I mean, I remember we were in ShopRite once, that's about 3 years ago, and it took about 6 weeks. And even then, you hadn't really got moving much. It wasn't a profit, covered the costs. In the end, just closed it because just tying everything up for so long. The swap fees were going up. But I personally use the daily. But if you don't use the 4, that's entirely up to you. I suggest you don't do the hourly unless you're a very short-term scalper. And as mentioned this morning, if you are, you've got to bear in mind of the spread costs. Okay, so you need about at least, I'd say, 50-pip range. Other than that, I use the daily. So I look at the daily, and mine's quite simple. I look at it like I'm looking at the Nasdaq now, and it tells me immediately I'm in a neutral zone. You get to know a particular instrument. I mean, you might ask me what I think of the Hang Seng, and I've never traded it. Obviously, I know what it is, and I can look at a chart on it, but I don't have a feel for it, if you like, because I haven't traded it. So, I get a little knowledge. World economy is still a bit shaky. So I'm looking to think of maybe we can short it. So I look at the neutral zone here, I think around figures near to 12,000. I might be looking at the 12,000 confirmation comes down. You can put indicators on the pleasure, so therefore, as you probably don't use them that much. I'm more interested in support resistance and the filter of these two guys here. And you get to know on a Forex pair. That's good. I like to use this one because it's not doing me any favors at the moment. And after a while, you get to know that maybe one of them's not that strong and the other one's fairly weak. And you want to find a strong one against a weak one. Obviously, buy the weak one and sell the strong. No, buy the strong one, sell the weak one. Get right around it. Yeah, so I keep it fair. So even this one used to be in the buy zone, remember? So you buy the and you buy it, and then look what happened here. So if you bought it here, the bounce, you'd have your stop down here, shoot up, modify your stops. So even on that trade, you probably would have still made a couple of bucks before you stopped out, hopefully in a profit. Then it came down. The only breaks through this area, yeah, and closed in that area for the next day. We hit probably here on the radio, or Bloomberg, or whatever TV. There's been some technical damage. All that means it's gone from a buy zone to neutral to sell zone or whatever. So from that one, it's a bit of technical damage. Now it's in the middle neutral area, where before it was in a very strong area, if you get my point. And it's not really. And I look at the week just to see if there's any hurdles. If there's, I wanted to buy this, for instance, and there's a weekly strong moving average there, maybe 50 pips away, I might wait. I look at the 4 hour. Is there anything I want to buy this? Anything getting in the way there? Not. This is what? 200 pips away, no problem. But if that was, let's say, 30 pips away on the 4 hour, because they work on all charts, that's the 4 hour times 50, 4 hour times 200, I might give it a miss. But not boring you guys talking like this. I might give it a miss, like a hurdle. I think I'd rather take the risk. It might break the hurdle to 30 pips. I might wait for a breakout or a pullback, something like that. For candles themselves, I have all these fancy names. I used to know them all. I had to. Forgotten a lot of them because they're really worried. My area of candle is based either a confirmation. It might be an hour candle for going long, a green candle to give me an entry, or not more important, but certainly very, very much I use importance. See what the buyers and sellers are doing. That's what this is all about. Buyers and sellers. Obviously, more buyers if it goes up, more sellers goes down. And if I see something like this, I see it being defended. As it goes down, look what happens. The buyers come in. The buyers are coming in. The buyers are coming in. Can't see much on that at the moment. You see some buyers are coming in. So that's what that's telling me. This is being defended. Or I see lack of follow through because I'm looking at another candle and thinking, hang on a minute. As it goes up, the sellers are coming in. It's not a very good example. We went there this morning. I forget which one it was. I think it was a CAD JPY where we went down, the buyers came in, and on the 1 hour, if you remember it, and it came down, it went up, the sellers came in, went down, the buyers came in. So just going nowhere. So it tells what the buyers and sellers are doing, whether it's worth having a go at or not. Does that make any sense, or is that a bit too complicated or badly put? I don't know, but that's how that I look at it. And let's have another one. Just let's look at CAD JPY. Let's look at CAD JPY. I thought this morning might get a better example. Right, I'll go to the day chart. I'm looking at the day chart, and I'm seeing it's still bouncing around a bit, not really getting much movement. So now I'm thinking this might be reached. Clearly, that's an upward trend on the 200. It's in the neutral zone. I still quite like the Canadian over the Japanese. And I think if it can come back to this area here, I'd look at maybe buying it small. We don't want to miss it. As Sean quite I said, I felt exactly the same. So I was almost forcing a trade, as you're saying there, Mark, because I don't want to miss it. And there's not much going on. Just as well, that was a 104. Just as well, that's why it's nice to have a trade room. It's this moral support. You can bounce ideas. And you get some guys who got their feet firmly on the ground, are very, very conservative, or maybe, and then you listen, maybe you're right. You need to push in a slight direction, even if you're doing it for a long time. And I think now, even though a few buyers are coming in here, it's probably it could come back here. And look at this. This coincides around here. So if it comes back here, you wait for a bounce, you don't buy it. If it starts bouncing up, maybe give it an hour, 15 minutes or something, I don't know, whatever, depending on the volatility. Maybe get it there, stop down here, and maybe take it up there. That's the sort of general idea. But I want to see a bounce or at least a wick of a candle coming in on the 2 or 4 hour, whatever it is, to give me the confidence to go and jump in. If this came down here and all I saw was red and not a single wick on it, the momentum's still down, I'll wait because it could break through. But if I start seeing the buyers come defend it, I'll then buy it. Does that sort of make any sense or answer your question, Hera? I have a whole answering everything, not the question that was asked. Does that help at all? Make any sense? Okay, happy with that. Good. You see, the thing is, what really trading, I've been for quite a while, like I mentioned, and I think it was about 4 years ago, maybe slightly less. So it's not that long ago. I just read an article and it just sort of light bulb went off. It said basically what you got to worry about in trading is the support, resistance, price action, and understanding the psychology of the traders out there and realizing to be similar to yourself. And I thought that's the three things that more impact than all my other stuff in trading, those three items there. And if the psychology part is this, you've bought here and it's getting pretty high and you can see a bit of resistance there. What are you going to do? Are you going to hold on? No, you're going to probably take profit, or you're going to put your TP there, or at least move your stop up in case it breaks through. But fairly, you think, well, if I thought of that, maybe you thought of that, and someone else in America, Japan, and Australia, and Canada will be thinking that. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. And the other part that's very important is if there's anybody who can't see that's a high, I strongly suggest you go to your optician or optometrist rather, and get an eye test. What I'm being by that in a slightly sort of hopefully amusing way is the fact that it's that obvious that people respond to it. So the tiny pivot points and other areas of indicators, etc. Everyone's got their own. So, you know, not everyone's going to respond to it, to either take profit or enter or whatever. But everybody, if you bought there and you saw these guys here, you'd be getting a bit nervous here to be holding on to it. So you probably take profit and maybe go in again if it breaks or pulls back, because it's like I would say, like a bloody great pothole in the road. You can't miss it. It's a small one, you could go over it. So small indicators, small areas of support, resistance, these sort of things often miss because they're, you know, like a small pothole. But a bloody great pothole like this, you're going to miss it. And if you're buying up here, let's say you went up here, nor the candle's green, red, irrelevant. You bought down here somewhere, you saw this line here, you'd be thinking, I'll put my TP there. Okay? So, in other words, trouble is, what happens, the cleverer the person is, the more they try and complicate it and more they get themselves tangled in knots. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Try and cut out the mystique and being too clever. Just think, hang on a minute, the Canadian's pretty strong. I don't know. In this case, the yen thing is overall a bit weaker. It's pulled back. There's a bit of strong support there. Yeah, that's an idea. I might think of buying it. And you might, and everyone else thinks of buying it in theory. And because of the amount of people think the same thing, it's in your face, it's going to affect the price. Get my point? Everyone's stopping the car there, that major pothole. In this case, they would be selling because they're going long, they're selling to exit. What happens? The share price comes down. Sorry, instrument price comes down. If you're going short, see this coming in here, and you saw these two here, you sold short down there, you see this guy here, what are you going to do? You're going to close it. What do you do when you close the short? You buy. Short covering bounce. There you are. Just takes a bit of practice, like driving the car, but it's not that complicated. It's just new. It just takes a bit of practice. And keep an eye on what's happening especially in America, because that will overcome any technical. Remember that. As we often know to our cost, eh? So that's how I do it. Simple as that. You can have your own, whatever. You can swear by the MACD. Jones swears by the Bollinger Band. Someone has a 19 and a 45-day exponential moving average. Another guy, relative strength, whatever. But I prefer to keep it simple, stupid. Okay, you mean JSE shares. One of the reasons why we stopped the JSE shares, Howard, is the fact that they charge JSE 95 Rand per month for the data fee. And the brokers were actually quite high, the brokers as well. I think it was about 80 Rand round trip, 40 in, 40 out. The problem with that is people weren't realizing that. And guys with very small accounts, around about the 2-3 grand mark, it wasn't worth it because of the costs involved. Now, if you take 95 Rand a month, let's call it 100 Rand a month, okay? Might have gone up, by the way. 100 Rand a month, that's 1,200 Rand a year. If you got 2,400 Rand in your account, you've got to spend 50% on the JSE data fee on something you haven't got enough money to use in the first place anyway. And people didn't know that. And the guys in small accounts are getting nailed by this 95 Rand a month, which was useless to them. You get the maths on it. You need to have a decent account, at least 5 grand or more, to make that 1,200 a year worth it percentage-wise. Even on 5 grand, that's about 24, 25%. You've got to make just to pay for that bloody data fee. And I pushed for it actually. I said, no, it's not. If everyone had about 50 grand upwards, it wouldn't matter. But because of those reasons, I said, let's do the overseas ones. They're performing a lot better in a lot of cases. And I just thought, and plus the cost for the majority of the clients, it's just not worth their while. That's the reason. So if you do, there's a lot of them. IG, I know, they're the biggest in the world. They do them. But I think your minimums are higher. For last I looked, there's a minimum 120 brokerage, if I remember, Jake. Well, it was $100 or something, brokerage. So it's absolutely pointless looking at them unless you've got an absolute barest minimum of 5, preferably 10 grand or more in your account. Otherwise, it's just not worth it for the costs involved. That's why we pulled out. So just bear that in mind. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you, Roger. Can I quickly speak?
Of course you can. Shut me up for a while. Good stuff.
Thanks, Bonnie, again. Can you please post again all the links that is important?
With pleasure. Yeah. Takes 2 seconds.
Traders on board.
Yeah, certainly. Which one's this one? US. I think this is the DXY. Yeah, will be this DXY. I'll do the yields on the 10-year note. Just have 2 seconds to explain what I mean by that. I posted it. And you can filter it. I might have left 1 or 2 things out on the economic calendar. So you can filter it if you want to put other stuff in. I don't use it that often, but if you want the heat map, remember I keep saying, it's giving lagging indicators. So just because you see the Japanese yen through the roof, the dollar on the minus, that might be just a bit of a pullback. But I'll put it down for you on anyway. There you are. Don't forget you need refreshing it. I mean, if you go and come back in 20 minutes, you've got to refresh the what you call the currency strength meter, because it doesn't update automatically. You've got to refresh it. I haven't done it again. Just give me a minute. I think I'm getting fed up with this power actually. Oh God, you're right. Getting close to the stop. 61 is the stop. Thought lights is coming off. Go figure. Don't ask me why. I do not know. I just do not know. Looks like a bit of head and shoulders. The Swiss is still pretty stably strong. Anything coming out from Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor, has already been priced in. I really don't know. Tomorrow, with pleasure. Don't forget, do not do the NASDAQ unless you've got at least 5K in your account. Do not do it. Okay. I want to stop above 12,000. What do you want to do? Buy or sell it? That's why I reiterate my weekly snippet and on here. If you got less than 5K, you get I'll tell you why. You need at least a 200 pip stop. If you want to short it now, for instance, you put the stop up there and the TP here, for instance, 11,347 for argument's sake. I'm not sure what I mean. And remember, even the scalpers, about 15 pips or so is the spread. So, or was it 14 pips? So, you can't scalp 30 pips, and it's 50% commission you pay. It's not worth your while. So you need a decent stop. And if you don't, there you are, 384. So even 5 grand is a bit under. I think on 5 grand you should be risk more than 300. So you talk at least about 6.5 grand on that, maybe even 7 grand in your account balance. And we've got to have a decent free margin as well. So don't say I've got 7 grand balance, but 6 of it's on the market. Then no, because you've got to keep up, because up and down is very volatile, except on Thanksgiving Day. It's very volatile, especially after for opening. That even going the right way, you've stopped out opening noise. So yeah, you just need a plenty free margin, and with a stop like that, you need about at least 7k. So if you've got less than that to buy, don't do it. I'm just suggesting your money, but I'm strongly suggesting leave it alone. Ends up tears more than will help you out, unless you get very lucky. The reason why I like a 200 pip stop, because often in the opening you get so much noise in the opening, you can jump around 150 pips. The last thing I want to do is get knocked out and it goes your way. That's why you've got to have some distance in your stop. Even when I go into a new trade, even if the actual strong area of support was there, I wouldn't put it 30 pips below, put at least 50 or so more. You need to make up for the noise. Until you want to modify, then you can use maybe 20 pips behind market, away from market rather, just because you modify. But when you first go in, you need a reasonable one. Give it a chance. Well, sorry, I wish you'd been a tight on GBP, CHF, and put up with it now. Okay. Okay. I would say leave that Nasdaq anyway, whether you got money or not. I think it might get to 12,000 and come off. And you don't buy it to 12,000, that's 100 pips. With a 200 pip stop, makes no sense. So you get 12,000 comes off, then you give an opportunity. That's why I often concentrate more on the S&P, which is really going sideways. That's hardly moved all day. It's because you can put your stop here, just above there, and that's only $12 away per micro. So that's affordable. Make sense? $12 stop is okay. You know, or $25. A lot of people find that they might have the money in the account, then they're getting about 60% into one instrument. You're overexposed. Risk management, correct position sizing, that is an absolute. Don't want you guys blowing your account by holding on, which everyone does, and then they move their stop, bow bounce, move the stop, bow bounce, and suddenly 60–70% of the entire capital is chowed up and won, and as luck would have it, still coming off. And then suddenly some fundamental comes in and said it was a long, it's now a short. So now you get a trade idea, you get to short it, and you're already going long, and now you're fed up. A lot of guys on the overseas PAM accounts that know were in the Nasdaq and just held long until the accounts are blown. That's not the way to trade. Hey, Mark, I don't know why you were in, but I think you knew our good friend who's left us now. And that's what he and the other were doing, just hold until eventually that was the end of that. No. Risk management, accept the fact you can take the loss and be able to take it. And it's not always your fault. Sometimes funny things happen which defy the best. You, Mark, someone even the Bloomberg guy, what's his name again? Johnny, Portuguese surname, English guy, Portuguese surname, I forget his name now. And he was saying just the other day, I don't quite understand what's happening in these markets, I didn't have any idea. This panel of experts shrugged their shoulders. It happens sometimes. So it's not always your fault. Okay. Okay, right. Anything else you want to look at, guys? Anything else you want to question and do with the trading? Finally helped you out there because he's been doing it for a while. I think he did that to help you guys. So sometimes questions need to be asked. So yeah, you know about the specifications, get the information on instrument. You got the 3 links there to keep saved. You know about the charts, position size calculator. You know shares are different. Volume's incredibly different on shares, and you need the other calculator for that. And we can look at the GBP, CHF, yeah. You're a bit hurtful, this GBP, to be honest. That's a great expression there, hurtful. Even Even came from outer space, you're doing like that, you know what it needs. Then get a cut full of it. Get a cut full of this GBP. Well, I don't know. I've been liking the Swiss franc. Maybe I should start disliking it because it seems to be, I don't know, I just don't understand it at all. But I'm worried now to get stopped out on this one. It's a pain. I don't know. Sorry, guys. I often say something might have come through, we missed or whatever. I've heard no news whatsoever. That should continue up. It's got a bit of resistance there. Maybe it'll hold. But yeah, I have to say I like this trade. I still like it, even though the market doesn't agree with me. It was a sell, yeah. And I still think even if it's gone up, I still think that strategy is correct. But anyway, sold at the high, it's broken through. There's another high here. I hope that holds. But I don't know. Very, very strange. That's why if your volumes are right, it stops you out, it pisses you off, but it doesn't completely break you in two. Looks like just as bloody well. Wow, very confident this one just shows, eh? S&P 500, yeah, sure, good point. Can't say much more than that on that one. Should have to rush this because it's so slow. I think put it above here. I think put it there, 4156 will do. The original one was 4-1. Leave it there. You're already in. Leave it, and start moving your stop away. You worked out your risk management on 4-1 stop loss, so don't suddenly change it now. This is for anyone entering new. 4156. Sorry, 4156, and a TP. We make it 38. Same TP as the other. So you see, $200 is affordable, better than 380. So 200 rands for guys, I would say 2.5 grand. Below 2.5 grand, you're looking. If you've got 2 grand, that's about 10%. You're pushing it a bit, but it's up to you. I'm just saying. But anyway, 205 rand is reasonably affordable, and it's still an index. I don't know why that is. I'll put it on again for you. Still doesn't. Don't ask me. Ask Mark. He's an IT expert. And if you didn't do with Apple, I ask about eating them. That's about as much knowledge of Apple. But we had cut like this time. Okay, so who was after this one? It was Tobacco, I think. Second. Tobacco, yeah. There you are. So $200 per micro. Yeah. So if you haven't joined it, you like to do it, there you are. It'd be a bit quiet, but never mind. I think it's pretty right. I think so, yeah. It seems, you can see, I'll just zoom in a bit there. It seems to be holding that 200-day moving average. See a few cells have come in there. Very sideways, you can see. It seems to be holding. So yeah, I think so, yeah. 1 micro for 200. If you can afford 400 rand risk, go for 2. You know the angle. Squeaks come back out. Okay. I think even the other stuff seemed a bit sideways. It's damn GBP again. ADCHF, bit sideways, but it's a bit disappointing. Look at the hour. Trying to come back. Hope it does, obviously. AUDCHF. Yeah, it's giving me jip this. It might come back again. We'll see. Anyway, still in it. US dollar yen. Again, giving us jip, but very sideways. Or dollar would be very sideways. and GBP we just looked at, paid on the backside. Okay, so if you want that S&P, there you are, got the stuff in there. Amazing, eh? When Americans go and do something else, the whole world comes to a standstill.
And it influences the direction of the dollar. It seems it just cannot go.
Just cannot go.
Keep going.
No, just cannot go. What was a good day? Sorry, have finally gone.
And it seems that there's not really a demand for it. That if you look overall since midnight until now, the dollar weakened quite a lot.
Yeah, I did a bit, yeah. But it seems to be holding around the level of it at the moment. I hope that we're going to hold 106. It seemed to pop his head below. But again, it's incredibly quiet at the moment. I still, and not just me talk, a lot of analysts seem to think that the 105 plus is the line in the sand for a hold, and we should be getting a bounce from there. So no, if it doesn't, I'll share the blame with them. It's not been a great day, I get you, because all the ones are a bit of a negative, but so far, touch wood, at least you're still in. You see the red, but at least you're still in. And they might come right. Now it's just going to be quiet now, that's the only problem. That's why I said we're going to do a shorter term this one. Polani's joining us. It's just going to be a shorter session because there's not much happening. We've covered a few things like you might printing those links and a couple of other bits and pieces. You know, just the quick practical levels you require. And then that's about it. Well, Polani, yeah, I've got my WhatsApp if you're on the group, that's fine. Great to have you join us. It's a shortened, I know just arrived now, but a shortened session this because the US market's closed, as you probably know, due to Thanksgiving. So it's not much happening. So we just spent a few minutes going over stuff and that's about it. Okay, so it's not really much you can pick up now. Probably do a bit better tomorrow. There's no afternoon session on Friday, by the way, you know that now, just tomorrow morning. Even that, I think, might be a bit quiet going into the weekend and again, half day in the States. I call it recovery day from overdoing it at Thanksgiving. But yeah, okay, that's good enough. Thanks for keeping in touch. Okay, yeah. So it might be quiet. I think we'll get the action back in on Monday. Okay. But anyway, nice you joined us anyway, guys and Polani. Okay.
Here in South Africa, we call it Ish Babalas Day.
Ish Babalas Day, that's right, yeah. Ishcom. Barbie, we used to call it. Not a barbecue in Australia, but a barbie is Babalas.
I've seen our Reserve Bank hiked the interest rate also
Yes.
0.75.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you very much. I forgot about that. Too busy looking at this market's doing sod all. That's right. A lot of people expecting a 1% bounce, and it didn't occur. It was only 3/4. It took a slightly more conservative route. Just a second. Get this rid of this, and that's why he didn't have much action. What's this now? 15, around about that level there. Had a slight jump, but not much. So it jumped a bit on that and came back because it was a little bit less than people expecting. Well, no, it's been talking about 75 for a while, but only in the last week or so, with all the other issues, they recommend he might, I can't pronounce his name, so I call him LK, might go for the 1%. but he didn't. He played a bit more conservatively, and that's why we didn't have a sudden jump in the round. Gamba won, probably see about 1670 on the round. But anyway, so there you are. So if you're a saver, it's good news. If you've got a bond and a motor car and you're paying it off, not such good news. And the major problem with this country is a bit like America, where they tend to have a habit of living paycheck to paycheck, and most of the money goes out in debt at the beginning when they get paid at the end of the month, and that's just going to make it even more difficult for them. It makes it difficult as well to do business because, you know, most products 20 grand upwards, you can't. Most people don't have that cash, so you've got to sell it on terms, and then it makes it extremely expensive with the interest rate going up. Because inflation is getting a bit out of hand here as well. But, you know, sure, a lot of people suffering out there, especially the poorer people are buying what we normally call cheaper products of the 4 or 5 grand. They have to pay that on tick. And then often, if they haven't got the best, what you call it, credit record, it makes it even more difficult. Credit cards now, hectic, 20%. 20% per annum for credit card. Because it's so risky, because guys get it, they max it, and they get behind and get problems. I read that somewhere, Mark, something like, you know, about 3/4 or more of the money goes out the first few days, paying off everything. Exactly. I used to know what one of those relationships, a lady and her wife, and their combined income was about 60K a month, and they're always battling at the end of the month. Because just everything's going out because, you know, they get store cards and credit cards and bond or render. I know whether I never saw their place, but I mean, whatever, their accommodation, the motor car, you get the idea. And the tax. And they had a kid that's going to school. Look. Comes in, bang, you look at it, looks pretty 60K. I was gross, by the way, not net. So let's say it's 50K net. I don't know whatever the tax on that is. And then suddenly you go and look at it the next day, it's down to about 10. That's it. Exactly. You have 3 or 4 cards. Often you borrow one to pay Peter, pay Paul, you know the story. And the biggest mistake people do, they go for it, is to pay the minimum 3%. And by doing that, they're just going to rack up the interest. And it's hectic. And I have to be honest, I've got a very good credit rating. I don't really have any problem with it, to be honest. I just pay it off at the end of the month or whatever. But I use it just because it's handy, you know. But if I did get into debt at 20%, you'll know about it pretty damn quick. And as you quite rightly say, just you thinking getting somewhere, car breaks down, you need it or whatever. But it's a common problem. I mean, like Stock Market College, I used to sell it. This was about 15, maybe slightly more years ago. And at one stage, and I didn't see a guy that said a credit card. I'd say at least 90% of the business on the credit card. And but now, don't even ask guys got a credit card because if they do, it's always maxed. It just shows it's changed the last few years. And that's why the guys pay such high interest rate, because it's such a risk to the banks. Enormous amount of people have credit card problems. So I got a call, funny enough, yesterday from Standard Bank saying, do you want to increase the limit? Because they was obviously not wanting to get into debt and start paying them interest.
But Raj, sorry, in this case, then we should look at the shares of Visa and MasterCard.
Yeah, to sell them because everyone's in debt and they can't pay it off. Not to buy them. But I take your point. Don't want to make of it. Your guess is as good as mine, Yanis. I like the short. I strongly recommended it, and it's come backfire at me at the moment. 61's a stop. So anyway, stopped out. It happens, but I'm very disappointed in that one. Extremely disappointed. I still stand by with them. And we all agreed it was a nice one this morning. Not just my idea, but the other guys agreed. And that was disappointing. Sometimes we go, well, so be it. I have to say it's disappointing. very. But it's not out yet. It might. Not looking pretty. We might come right. Go and someone buy a couple of Rolexes, top of the range. That might help Swiss franc. With that Swiss credit Swiss, not credit Swiss, what was it? Swiss something or other. One of the banks there had got some difficulties. That didn't help the Swiss franc cause, but wasn't actually bankrupt. Just had got some difficulties. That was a couple of months ago. So, but yeah, credit cards, be very careful. As I say, the guys now who go out selling, very, very little business comes on the credit card. It's all maxed. It was that toxic debt actually that caused the big crash about 15 years ago, wherever it was. The Lehman Brothers went down the Swan. UK, massive toxic debt and credit cards. They're giving, this is where about 15 years ago, they're giving teenagers £3,000 credit limit on the credit card. What, you know, you're a teenager with 3,000 quid limit. In today's money, it's about 60,000 rand limit. Teenager in the UK. I mean, for God's sake, I mean, of course they go dilly with it. Especially a lady goes into a young teenage girl goes in and buys the dresses and shoes and whatever. I'm on the card. Don't worry about it, you know. Well, that came back a bit. Had to write off billions. And they're doing the same. A lot of guys are getting 3 or 4 credit cards and using credit on one to pay off the other one until all 4 are maxed and they had a problem. That's just not understanding basic finance. Yeah, not understanding 20% interest rate, rather the impact of such a high interest rate. Or the micro lenders, 15% a month. I know it's still going, I haven't seen it, but used to 15% a month. That's unbelievable. The poor ignorant person who doesn't understand this sort of thing, needing a few $100 suddenly finds they lose everything. Can't even pay the interest on it. It's terrible. And what they do is they insure it and they put that on the debt as well. So you're not only borrowing the 1,000 rand or whatever it is, it's insured as well, and you're paying a premium on that, and that's hectic. Amortizes the word. Normally I'd say, yeah, I'm just a bit worried about it. I thought you meant you're in it, a bit fed up. Normally I'd say yes. I don't know what's doing right up there. It might go up there now, actually. So I'm not really keen to go for it after what's happened today. I think probably just stand aside. If you miss out, you miss out. It's not the confidence on that one, to be honest, but I'm hoping it's going to come off, put it that way. But I haven't really seen much follow through to the downside. So I think maybe, Johannes, sorry, obviously I want you to get a nice trade, but nice being the operative word. And I'm a bit hesitant. Aish, I think it's the proper word for that, Aish. Anyone want to encourage him to short it here? Might get some more moral help from Mark or Fani or something. If I understood it, it'd be okay, but I don't understand it, so it makes me uncomfortable. It's like driving, not knowing where you're going. It makes you not quite sure what's happening. And the pound USD, look at that, that's amazing, isn't it? I think that's gonna hold. I didn't get that bloody high personally. But anyway, obviously it has. Some people went long on it. Well, bloody done. I wouldn't so keen. But I think if it gets there, it's a good chance it might get there. And I think that will, if it comes off from there, that's some shorting opportunity, in my opinion. So they're setting themselves up going into a Monday. So maybe we can grab a few good. We did, get a few good bargains there. Done that before. Did it last week after CPI. Got some good bargains through. Okay. That's about it, really. Is anything happening on the other trades yet? Not on that one. 920, got 909. CHF slightly down, but not horrendously so. This is the one that's giving our GBP CHF's the one that's giving us the problems. What, anything happening on this one? No, this is not happening either. Look at it. Nothing happening there. Yeah. I think basically, if you're in, leave your stops where they are. It might come right. Keep your fingers crossed, but I'd be a bit wary of entering in the moment. Even gold's doing nothing. Still at 1755. It was there this morning. Even Brent, I think, is not doing much. We had a bit of a bounce again today. Yeah, look at that, had a bit of a bounce. No, not really. On the day, it's a bit different, yeah. Even that, look, no follow through. I think maybe sit tight at the moment. I think so, yeah, Mark. I want to get confirmed pullback. I think so. I think I'm going to bounce the yields. I'm going to bounce the dollar, put my neck out on this one for a short on gold, but I want it confirmed. Like Cheryl mentioned this morning, I want it below 52. And I still think I'll wait on that one. And that's boring, guys, but I think rather wait. We might get something tomorrow morning, might, but I think it's still going to be the half day in the States and still be fairly quiet. I think the action should begin. Hopefully, we'll get some bargains on Monday go through. See if we get the normal Christmas share rally.
Sorry, Roger, I'm a little bit confused. If they say it's a half day tomorrow in America, will the markets then open at 4:30 our time or not?
Good question. Right. When I say half day, obviously that's half day is what it means. The best way to describe it's like Christmas Eve. All right, Christmas Eve's on Saturday, market's closed. Let's say Christmas Day is on a Thursday or a Friday or something. And the Christmas Eve is obviously a weekday. It's only a half day. It's in South Africa talked about, and the market closes at 1 o'clock. But there's very little trading. So they see by law they can't have it closed for more than 3 days. The market, so they've got to go on Friday because they didn't. It'd be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 4 days of closure. They not by law they're not to have the market close more than 3 days. So they go in just to overcome that law, if you like. So they go in the morning. So it'll open up as far as normal and probably close around about 7 o'clock our time. But I'm prepared to say that the trade will be pretty thin. They have to have it open. Half the traders won't come to their desk. It's like Christmas Eve, only what do you call it? Skeleton crew, as they call it, and it'll be almost certainly extremely light trading. They're just going in, nursing a hangover, just sit it out till their lunchtime, and then they bugger off back and have a rec marker. But you know what I mean. So it'll be a half day, but it'll open, but it'll be thin trading. I don't know if it's actually gone in. I think they're talking about it. I don't think it's gone in as yet, but yeah, they're having a hassle there, which is not doing right. To a certain extent, you're right, because they're doing poorly. Oil, that is, yeah. But again, the trouble with China now, like America, is such a big economy. When they have a problem, it creates problems everywhere else. Major difference is China tends to export rather than import. With America, it does both. So that's why we suffer more at America's hands. We don't actually want America to have a bad economy. Because, I mean, because they buy stuff, you know. Everyone wants to go and get a business, expand the American market. But if they have a problem, then you can't. Okay, right. Well, that is a shortened version. I mentioned that earlier on. Anything else you want to cover before we call it an evening? Probably quiet tomorrow, by the way, and get some action on Monday. But anything else you'd like to? Why not, Mark? Why not? Okay, fine. Thanks for joining us. Anybody new, stick with it. You get a lot more action, a lot more trades out, and often they're good ones. You have one or two bad ones. Not looking pretty at the moment, but still in. They might turn out to be all right, and you'll learn a lot. And it's yeah, stick with it. And some of the jargon start to make sense. Keep a pen and paper handy. Take notes in case you want to remind yourself or ask a question. It's a forum. Join in. We're here to help each other. That's the bottom line. And I'll be honest, I get a kick out of it. If we get some trades out and to put a smile on your faces, I don't get money for it. I get satisfaction. So I think it's worth even more of that. Okay. Enjoy your wine there, Mark and guys. And yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow morning. Cheers, eh? Good idea, Mike. In fact, I wouldn't mind flying down, enjoying him as well. Or, the country of wine, the land of wine. Eh? Okay. Anyway, see you tomorrow.